My name is Nisima Gladys. I'm one of the girls being supported by Eka Break Uganda through a scholarship program.
All support means the world to us. Any kind of support can never be underlooked. Here is yet another girl you have supported, stay in school, and improved her life. Please listen to her story.
I am in senior 3.
From rags to a crown, her plea for a sewing machine. The world I knew at 7 years old was not one of playgrounds and picture books, but of smoke, oil, and the heavy, rhythmic clink of glass in a woven basket. My name is Nisima Gladys, and my childhood was scented with the smell of frying cassava and pancakes, aromas that were not a promise of a feast, but the bitter perfume of survival. While other children learned to write their names, I learned the weight of an empty bottle, the searing bite of hot oil on my small fingers, and the hollow, endless ache of an empty stomach. This life began the day my father's love became a warm memory and his absence a cold, hard reality. I was only 4, a tiny spectator to a storm of family conflict I couldn't comprehend. My father's own family became shadows, whispers in the night, searching for him not to bring him back, but to erase him and claim the soil he stood on. And so he vanished, leaving my mother with her 5 children and a void that poverty was quick to fill. Hope became a distant star, a story told to children who had food. My mother, a woman of fierce love and frayed strength, tried to build a world for us from scraps. She had a small business, a tiny flicker of flame against the overwhelming darkness. But one morning, we woke not to the promise of a new day, but to the acrid, suffocating smell of smoke. Our hope was a pile of ash and melted plastic. There was nothing. No school fees, no food on the table, not even decent clothes to shield our thin bodies from the piercing stares of the world. My mother became a magician of necessity. She would take scraps of discarded cloth, joining clashing colors and patterns with stitches of pure love, just so I would have something to wear. But at school, that love became a target. The other children didn't see the sacrifice. They saw a mismatched patchwork, a walking testament to our poverty. Their laughter wasn't a sound of joy. It was a weapon, sharp and piercing, that followed me through the schoolyard. They gave me a name, the beggar, and soon that name became my truth. I would walk for miles, my stomach cramping with hunger, not just to collect bottles, but to beg for a handful of food from people who turned me away, their faces a mask of pity and scorn. There goes the beggar girl. They would whisper, and the words would follow me home like a curse. At night, our bed was a mat woven from coarse banana fibers, scratching against my skin. My mother would cover me with her only gomisi, her body a fragile shield against the cold and the fears that haunted my dreams. In the darkness, I would hear her quiet sobs, a sound that broke my heart more than any hunger ever could. And I would cry with her, 2 small souls lost in a world that had forgotten us. Happiness was a language I had forgotten how to speak. Love felt like a distant myth. Education was a locked book I was never allowed to touch. When the teachers called out the names of those who hadn't paid fees, my name was always on the list, a public brand of my poverty. I never once knew the pride of holding a report card in my hands. Then, my mother, my rock, my everything, fell sick. The little strength she had left began to fade. With her illness, the last embers of my hope for school, for a future, were extinguished. The world became a blur of searching for food, for medicine, for a single reason to keep going. Life was not just hard, it was a suffocating blanket of despair, and I was disappearing underneath it. And then a miracle whispered my name. I was in primary 6, a ghost haunting the school corridors when a lifeline was thrown to me. A name, Eco-Agric Uganda, entered my life like a prayer I didn't know I was speaking. Through their scholarship program, they saw past the ragged clothes and the beggar's name. They saw a girl who was desperate to learn. That was the moment the sun began to rise. Today, I am Nisima Gladys, a senior 3 student at Everest High School. I can sit in a classroom and not feel like an outsider. I can laugh with my friends, a real, unburdened laugh that I once thought was impossible. I am no longer the girl in the patchwork dress, hiding from the world. I am blessed. A time when a school book was a foreign object and a classroom was a place I only dared to peek into from the outside. My future was a locked door and I had no. And then there were Josiah and Aaron. I want to speak to you directly now, if I may. When you chose to keep me in school, you didn't just hand over money. You reached across oceans and shattered the walls of my prison with your bare hands. You didn't just pay my school fees, you handed me the key to that locked door, and inside, I found a world I never knew existed, a world filled with words, with ideas, with a future I thought was only for other children. Your gift was more than paper and pencils. It was the medicine that helped my mother breathe easier, knowing her daughter had a chance. It was the warmth that replaced the cold of the banana fiber mat at night. It was the voice that taught the silent girl how to sing. Every book I read, every equation I solve, every friend I laugh with in the schoolyard, I feel your kindness whispering, you are worthy. You belong here. Josiah and Aaron, you're not just sponsors to me. You are the architects of my dreams, the lighthouse that guided my ship through the darkest storm. You took a beggar girl from the ashes and showed her she was a queen. You are the reason I believe in miracles. And from the bottom of the heart, you help mend. Thank you. Thank you for everything. Through Eco-Agric Uganda, this incredible family, they didn't just give me an education. They gave me back my dignity. They taught me skills that have empowered my soul. They showed me how to coax life from mushroom spores, turning sawdust into food. They taught me to make charcoal briquettes from what others throw away, creating fuel from nothing. They showed me how to nurture a vegetable garden and cook food that nourishes not just the body, but the spirit. They taught me that from the earth and from what others call waste, life and value can be created. I cannot imagine a greater gift than the one you have already given me. But now, with a heart full of gratitude, I dream of giving back. I dream of passing on this miracle. My humble, heartfelt plea is for sewing machines. With these machines, my friends and I can do more than just sew our own clothes. We can start a business. We can teach other girls and women in our community a skill that can be their own lifeline. We can stitch together not just fabric, but futures. We can turn our hands from begging to giving, from receiving to providing. We can earn a living, and in doing so, we can heal a part of our community that is broken. A sewing machine is not just a machine. It is a loom of destiny. It is the tool that will allow us to take the scraps of our lives, just as my mother did, and weave them into something beautiful, strong, and new. We want to stitch together the torn fabric of our community, one thread, one family, one life at a time. You are my miracle. Now, I am asking you to help us become miracles for others. Please, don't let my story be just something you read and feel sad about. Let it be something you can help write the next chapter for. Your donation can provide a sewing machine that becomes a beacon of hope for an entire family. It can give a young woman the power to start her own business, to send her children to school, to break the cycle of poverty that once held me captive. Click the link below to donate today. Give the gift of empowerment. Give the gift of a future. Help us turn our stitches of survival into stitches of strength. Thank you for seeing the girl in the rags and believing she was worthy of a crown. Now, please help us crown others with the same dignity.